Monkey D. Dragon's devil fruit powers have finally been confirmed by ODA, which was being hinted to us from the start of One Piece, and as we already know everything about Dragon and his revolutionary army until now, like they had recently completed their preparations for declaring war on the world government, and how the revolutionary army commanders themselves are strong enough to fight powerful marines, so, one can only imagine how strong Dragon himself will be. As we know, Dragon is most likely a devil fruit user, and this has been hinted at by Oda on various occasions now. In chapter 100, when Dragon first debuted, we saw him controlling the weather with great precision. He saved Luffy from execution at the moment's notice, and at the same time, he caused a great storm that allowed the Straw Hat Pirates to escape from 𝙲𝚘𝚙𝚘𝚝, which was called by him as the Winds of Fate. This little demonstration in itself is proof that Dragon has devil fruit abilities. While Haki can affect or alter the clouds, it cannot do what Dragon did, and it certainly cannot alter the weather or cause precise lightning strikes from the skies. What Dragon did was pure devil fruit powers, and if that wasn't enough, then we should look at the displays that he produced later down the line. The day the Great Terminal burned in the Goa Kingdom, Dragon opened up a pathway to his ship by blowing the fire away, and he did this by creating a gust of wind. Once again, it was clear that Dragon used some sort of an ability that isn't natural to any human. The natural conclusion one would come to here is that Dragon has a wind-related devil fruit, and to take things a step further, Dragon's very own ship is called the Wind Grandma. Once again, the mention of wind is being made in tandem with Dragon. Furthermore, when Dragon saved Sabo, he did so by picking him up from the open sea. This should not have been possible without a devil fruit power. To take things a step further, Dragon then arrived on Wind Grandma and had smoke emitting from his body. Once again, this isn't something that can't be caused naturally or even by using Haki. This is a clear indication of the fact that Dragon possesses a devil fruit power that is connected to wind. However, most recently, in One Piece chapter 1099, Oda dropped yet another hint which suggests that Dragon has further connections to wind. In One Piece chapter 1099, we saw Kuma reunite with the members of the revolutionary army. During this time, Dragon mentioned that Ivankov and Inazuma had been captured and sent to Impel Down. He then talked briefly about the laboratory of 𝚲𝚘𝚙𝚘𝚝 in order to help Kuma get a cure for Bonnie. Kuma mentioned that he will go to Egghead, and in the future, if they manage to reunite, he would like to help Dragon fight for freedom all over the world. However, Dragon asked him to not worry about specifics and to let the winds of freedom take their course. And once again, Dragon has mentioned winds in a very specific manner. This is something that he has done several times in the series, and when taking into consideration the displays he has shown over the years, it is almost a certainty at this point that Dragon has a devil fruit power. In fact, one can even take this a step further and say that Dragon has a devil fruit that allows him to control winds in particular. As to what devil fruit Dragon could have, we cannot say for sure. However, one ability that pops up in mind would be the Logia type, Kaze Kaze no Mi. Of course, it is also possible that Dragon might possess some other devil fruit. In fact, there are quite a lot of devil fruits that would potentially allow Dragon to manipulate the weather. It is also possible that Dragon possesses a mythical Zong devil fruit that grants him the ability to control winds as its special ability. One cannot say for sure which devil fruit ability Dragon has. However, what they can say for sure is that he has the power to manipulate winds. Given that Oda has specifically focused on this aspect of the power, the most likely ability that he possesses would be the wind fruit, a Logia ability. And as the Egghead Island arc is throwing quite a lot of focus on the revolutionary army, and that Dragon and his forces will be under quite a lot of focus in the final saga, we do not need to wait long to finally figure out what powers Dragon has. With each passing chapter, they are getting closer to Dragon revealing his abilities and truly showcasing why he is known to be the world's worst criminal. Well, what do you guys think about Dragon Devil Fruit's power? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section below. And that's it for today. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I also asked you to subscribe to help us. It will also help us to grow more, and if you like, please subscribe.